Time for dinner, Jeremiah 23. Woe to the shepherds destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares Jehovah. Therefore thus said Jehovah Elohim of Israel, against the shepherds who feed my people. You have scattered my flock, driven them away, and have not tended them. See, I am punishing you for the evil of your deeds, declares Jehovah. Therefore I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear and increase. And I shall raise up shepherds over them, and they shall feed them. And they shall fear no more, nor be discouraged, nor shall they be lacking, declares Jehovah. See, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall raise for David a branch of righteousness, and a sovereign shall reign and act wisely, and shall do right ruling and righteousness in the earth. In his days Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called, Jehovah our righteousness. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when they shall say no more, as Jehovah lives, who brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Mizraim. But as Jehovah lives, who brought up and led the seed of the house of Israel out of the land of the north and from the lands where I had driven them, and they shall dwell on their own soil. My heart within me is broken because of the prophets. All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man and like a man overcome by wine, because of Jehovah and because of his set-apart words. For the land is filled with adulterers, for the land mourns because of a curse. The pastures of the wilderness are dried up, and their course is evil, and their might is not right. For both prophet and priest have become defiled. Even in my house I have found their evil, declares Jehovah. Therefore their way is to them like slippery ways in the dark. They are driven on, and they shall fall in them. For I bring evil on them, the year of their punishment, declares Jehovah. And I have seen folly in the prophets of Shomoron. They prophesied by Baal, and led my people Yisrael astray. And among the prophets of Yerushalayim, I have seen a horrible matter committing adultery and walking in falsehood. And they strengthen the hands of evil ones, so that no one turns back from his evil. All of them are like Sodom to me, and her inhabitants like Amorah. Therefore thus said Jehovah of hosts concerning the prophets, see, I am making them eat wormwood, and shall make them drink poison water. For defilement has gone out into all the land from the prophets of Yerushalayim. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, do not listen to the words of the prophets who prophesy to you. They lead you astray. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not from the mouth of Jehovah. They keep on saying to those who despise me, Jehovah has said to you, you shall have peace. And to all who walk according to the stubbornness of their own heart, they say, no evil comes upon you. For who has stood in the counsel of Jehovah, and has seen and heard his word? Who has listened to his word and obeyed it? See, a storm of Jehovah shall go forth in a rage, a whirling storm. It whirls on the head of the wrong. The displeasure of Jehovah shall not turn back until he has done and established the purpose of his heart. In the latter days you shall understand it perfectly. I did not send these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied. But if they had stood in my counsel, they would have let my people hear my words, and they would have turned from their evil way and from the evil of their deeds. Am I an Elohim close by, declares Jehovah, and not an Elohim afar off? If anyone is hidden in secret places, would I not see him, declares Jehovah? Do I not fill the heavens and earth, declares Jehovah? I have heard what the prophets have said who prophesy falsehood in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. Till when shall it be in the heart of prophets? The prophets of falsehood have prophets of deceit of their own heart, who try to make my people forget my name by their dreams, which everyone relates to his neighbor, as their fathers forgot my name for Baal. The prophets who has a dream, let him relate the dream, and he who has my word, let him speak my word in truth. What is the chaff to the wheat, declares Jehovah? Is not my word like a fire, declares Jehovah, and like a hammer that shatters a rock? Therefore, see, I am against the prophets, declares Jehovah, who steal my words, everyone from his neighbor. See, I am against the prophets, declares Jehovah, who use their tongues and say, He declares. See, I am against those who prophesy false dreams, declares Jehovah, and relate them, and lead my people astray by their falsehoods and by their reckless boasting. But I myself did not send them, nor have I commanded them, and they do not profit this people at all, declares Jehovah. And when these people, or the prophet, or the priest ask you, saying, What is the message of Jehovah? Then you shall say to them, What message? I shall forsake you, declares Jehovah. As for the people and the priests and the people who say the message of Jehovah, I shall punish that man and his house. This is what each one says to his neighbor, and each one to his brother. What has Jehovah answered? And what has Jehovah spoken? But the message of Jehovah you no longer remember. For every man's message is his own word. For you have changed the words of the living Elohim, Jehovah of hosts our Elohim. This is what you say to the prophet. What has Jehovah answered you? And what has Jehovah spoken? But since you say the message of Jehovah, therefore thus said Jehovah, because you say this word, the message of Jehovah, and I have sent to you, saying, Do not say the message of Jehovah. Therefore see, I shall utterly forget you and cast you away from my presence, along with the city that I gave you and your fathers, and I shall put an everlasting reproach on you and an everlasting shame that is not forgotten. Jehovah showed me, and look, there were 2 baskets of figs set before the Hechal of Jehovah, after Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, had exiled Yekoniah, son of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, and the heads of Yehuda with the craftsmen and smiths from Yerushalayim, and had brought them to Babel. One basket had very good figs, like the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very spoilt figs, which could not be eaten. They were so spoilt. And Jehovah said to me, What do you see, Yirmiyahu? And I said, Figs, the good figs very good, and the spoilt very spoilt, which could not be eaten. They are so spoilt. Again the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Yisrael, Like these good figs, so do I acknowledge the exiles of Yehuda, whom I have sent out of this place for their own good into the land of the Kasdim. And I shall set my eyes on them for good, and shall bring them back to this land. And I shall build them and not pull them down, and shall plant them and not pluck them up. And I shall give them a heart to know me, that I am Jehovah. And they shall be my people, and I shall be their Elohim, for they shall turn back to me with all their heart. And as the spoilt figs that could not be eaten because they are so spoilt, for thus said Jehovah, so do I give up Sidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, his heads, the rest of Yerushalayim who remain in this land. and those who dwell in the land of Mizraim. And I shall make them a horror to all the reigns of the earth for evil, to be a reproach and a byword, a mockery and a curse, in all the places to which I drive them. And I shall send the sword, the scarcity of food, and the pestilence among them, till they are consumed from the land that I gave to them and their fathers. The word that came to Yirmiyahu concerning all the people of Yehuda in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, which was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar's sovereign reign of Babel, which Yirmiyahu the prophet spoke to all the people of Yehuda and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 13th year of Yoshiyahu, son of Ammon, sovereign of Yehuda, even to this day, this is the 23rd year in which the word of Jehovah has come to me, and I have spoken to you, rising early and speaking, but you have not listened. Moreover, Jehovah has sent to you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but you have not listened, nor inclined your ear to hear, saying, Turn back now, every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your deeds, and dwell on the soil, which Jehovah has given to you and your fathers forever and ever. And do not go after other mighty ones to serve them and to bow down to them, and do not provoke me with the works of your hands, so that I do you no evil. But you did not listen to me, declares Jehovah, so as to provoke me with the works of your hands for your own evil. Therefore thus said Jehovah of hosts, because you did not obey my words, see, I am sending and taking all the tribes of the north, declares Jehovah, and Nebuchadnezzar the sovereign of Babel, my servant, and shall bring them against this land and against its inhabitants, and against these nations all around, and shall put them under the ban, and make them an astonishment and a hissing and an everlasting ruin. And I shall banish from them the voice of rejoicing, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones, and the light of the lamp. And all this land shall be a ruin and a waste, and these nations shall serve the sovereign of Babel 70 years. And it shall be when 70 years are completed, that I shall punish the sovereign of Babel and the nations, the land of the Casdim, for their crookedness, declares Jehovah, and shall make it everlasting ruins. And I shall bring on that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, all that is written in this book, which Yirmiyahu has prophesied concerning all the nations. For they too shall be enslaved by many nations and great sovereigns, and I shall repay them according to their deeds and according to the works of their hands. For thus said Jehovah, Elohim of Yisrael, to me, Take this wine cup of wrath from my hand, and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. And they shall drink and shake and go mad because of the sword that I am sending among them. I then took the cup from the hand of Jehovah, and made all the nations drink to whom Jehovah had sent me, namely Jerusalem and the cities of Yehuda, and its sovereigns, its heads, to make them a ruin, an object of astonishment, a hissing and a curse, and it is this day. Pharaoh, sovereign of Mizraim, and his servants and his heads, and all his people, and all the mixed multitude, and all the sovereigns of the land of Uz, and all the sovereigns of the land of the Philistines, even Ashkelon and Azah, Akron, and the remnants of Ashdod, Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all the sovereigns of Sor, and all the sovereigns of Sidon, and the sovereigns of the coastlands which are beyond the sea, Dedan and Tema and Buz, and all who are in the farthest corners, and all the sovereigns of Arabia, and all the sovereigns of the mixed multitude who dwell in the wilderness, and all the sovereigns of Zimri, and all the sovereigns of Elam, and all the sovereigns of the Medes, and all the sovereigns of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the reigns of the earth, which are on the face of the ground, also the sovereign of Sheshach, shall drink after them. And you shall say to them, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Drink, be drunk, and vomit. Fall and rise no more, because the sword which I am sending among you. And it shall be, when they refuse to take the cup from your hand to drink, then you shall say to them, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, you shall drink. For look, I am beginning to bring evil upon this city which is called by my name. And should you be entirely unpunished? You are not going unpunished, for I am calling for a sword on all the inhabitants of the earth, declares Jehovah of hosts. And you shall prophesy against them all these words and say to them, Jehovah roars from on high and utters his voice from his set-apart dwelling place. He roars mightily over his fold, a shout as those who tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. Tumult shall come to the ends of the earth, for Jehovah has a controversy with the nations. He shall enter into judgment with all flesh. The wrong he shall give to the sword, declares Jehovah. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, See, evil is going forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind is raised up from the farthest parts of the earth. And in that day the slain of Jehovah shall be from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented or gathered or buried, for they are dung on the face of the ground. Howl, you shepherds, and cry, and roll yourselves in the ashes, you leaders of the flock, for the days of your slaughter and your scatterings are completed. And you shall fall like a choice vessel, and a place of refuge shall perish from the shepherds and escape from the leaders of the flock. Hear the cry of the shepherds and a wailing of the leaders of the flock, for Jehovah is ravaging their pasture. And the pastures of peace shall be cut down because of the burning displeasure of Jehovah. Like a lion he shall leave his hiding place, for their land shall become a waste because of the sword of oppressors and because of his burning displeasure. In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, this word came from Jehovah, saying, Thus said Jehovah, Stand in the courtyard of the house of Jehovah, and speak to all the cities of Yehuda, which come to bow themselves in the house of Jehovah, all the words that I command you to speak to them. Do not diminish a word. If so be that they listen and each turn from his evil way, then I shall repent of the evil that I plan to do to them, because of the evil of their deeds. And you shall say to them, Thus said Jehovah, if you do not listen to me to walk in my Torah, which I set before you, to listen to the words of my servants, the prophets I am sending you, even rising up early and sending them, though you have not listened, then I shall make this house like Shiloh, and make this city a curse to all the nations of the earth. And the priests and the prophets and all the people heard Yirmiyahu speaking these words in the house of Jehovah. And it came to be when Yirmiyahu had ended speaking all that Jehovah had commanded him to speak to all the people, that the priests and the prophets and all the people seized him, saying, You shall certainly die. Why have you prophesied in the name of Jehovah, saying, This house shall be like Shiloh, and this city be dried up, without an inhabitant? And all the people were gathered against Yirmiyahu in the house of Jehovah. And the heads of Yehuda heard this, and they came up from the sovereign's house to the house of Jehovah, and sat down in the entrance of the new gate of the house of Jehovah. And the priests of the prophet and the prophets spoke to the heads of all the people, saying, A death sentence for this man, for he has prophesied against this city, as you have heard with your ears. And Yirmiyahu spoke to all the heads of all the people, saying, Jehovah sent me to prophesy against this house and against this city with all the words you heard. And now, make good your ways and your deeds, and obey the voice of Jehovah your Elohim. Then Jehovah shall relent concerning the evil he has pronounced against you. And look, I am in your hand. Do with me as seems good and right to you. But know for certain that if you put me to death, you are bringing innocent blood on yourselves, and on this city, and on its inhabitants. For truly Jehovah has sent me to you to speak all these words in your hearing. Then the heads and all the people said to the priests and the prophets, No death sentence for this man, for he has spoken to us in the name of Jehovah our Elohim. And some of the elders of the land rose up and spoke to all the assembly of the people, saying, Micaiah and Moresheth prophesied in the days of Hiskiyahu, the sovereign of Yehudah, and he spoke to all the people of Yehudah, saying, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, Sion shall become a plowed field, and Yerushalayim be heaps, and the mountain of the house like the bare hills of the forest. Did Hiskiyahu, sovereign of Yehudah, and all Yehudah indeed put him to death? Did he not fear Jehovah and seek the favor of Jehovah? And the master relented concerning the evil which he had pronounced against them. And we are doing great evil against ourselves. There was, however, a man who prophesied in the name of Jehovah, Uriyahu, the son of Shemayahu, of Kiryath Yearim, who prophesied against this city and against this land, according to all the words of Yirmiyahu. And when Jehoiakim the sovereign, and all his mighty men and all the heads, heard his words, the sovereign sought to put him to death. But Uriyahu heard of it, and was afraid, and fled, and went to Misraim. Then Jehoiakim the sovereign sent men to Misraim, Elnathan the son of Achbor, and some men who went with him to Misraim. And they brought Uriyahu from Misraim, and brought him to Jehoiakim the sovereign, who struck him with the sword, and threw his dead body into the burial of the common people. However, the hand of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, was with Yirmiyahu, so as not to give him into the land of the people to put him to death. In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, the sovereign of Yehudah, this word came to Yirmiyahu from Jehovah, saying, This is what Jehovah said to me, Make for yourselves bands and yokes, then you shall put them on your neck, and shall send them to the sovereign of Edom, and the sovereign of Moab, and the sovereign of the Ammonites, and the sovereign of Sor, and the sovereign of Sidon, by the hand of the messengers who come to Yerushalayim, to Sidkiyahu the sovereign of Yehudah. And you shall command them to say to their masters, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, Say this to your masters, I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are on the face of the earth. By my great power and by my outstretched arm, I shall give it to whom seems right in my eyes. And now, I have given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, my servant. And the beasts of the field I have also given him to serve him. And all nations shall serve him, and his son's son, until the time of his land comes. And then many nations and great sovereigns shall make him serve them. And it shall be the nation and reign that do not serve Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, and the one that does not put its neck under the yoke of the sovereign of Babel, that nation I shall punish, declares Jehovah. with the sword and the scarcity of food and the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. So do not listen to your prophets, or to your diviners, or to your dreamers, or to your observers of clouds, or your sorcerers who speak to you, saying, do not serve the sovereign of Babel. For they are prophesying falsehood to you, to remove you far from your land, and I shall drive you out, and you shall perish. But the nations that bring their necks under the yoke of the sovereign of Babel and serve him, I shall leave in their own land, declares Jehovah, and they shall till it and dwell in it. And I spoke to Sidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, according to all these words, saying, bring your necks under the yoke of the sovereign of Babel and serve him and his people and live. Why should you die, you and your people, by the sword, by the scarcity of food, and by the pestilence of Jehovah, as Jehovah has spoken against the nation that does not serve the sovereign of Babel? Do not listen to the words of the prophets who speak to you, saying, do not serve the sovereign of Babel, for they prophesy falsehood to you. For I have not sent them, declares Jehovah. Yet they prophesy falsehood in my name, in order that I drive you out. Then you shall perish, you and the prophets who prophesied you. Then I spoke to the priest and to all this people, saying, thus said Jehovah, do not listen to the words of your prophets, who are prophesying to you, saying, see, the vessels of the house of Jehovah are brought back from Babel soon now. For they prophesy falsehood to you. Do not listen to them. Serve the sovereign of Babel and live. Why should this city become a ruin? But if they are prophets, and if the word of Jehovah is with them, let them now make intercession to Jehovah of hosts, that the vessels which are left in the house of Jehovah, and in the house of the sovereign of Yehuda, and at Yerushalayim shall not go to Babel. For thus said Jehovah of hosts concerning the columns, and concerning the sea, and concerning the stands, and concerning the remainder of the vessels which are left in this city, which Nebuchadnezzar the sovereign of Babel did not take when he exiled Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, the sovereign of Yehuda, from Yerushalayim to Babel, and all the nobles of Yehuda in Yerushalayim. Thus said Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, concerning the vessels that remain in the house of Jehovah, and in the house of the sovereign of Yehuda and of Yerushalayim. They shall be brought to Babel, and there until the day that I visit them, declares Jehovah. Then I shall bring them back and restore them to this place. And it came to be in that year, at the beginning, actually, I think I should have stopped there. We'll begin 28 next time.